The air in the office felt thick, heavy with the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint scent of burnt coffee from the break room. My pulse hammered in my throat as Mr. Callahan's hand brushed against my knee, a fleeting touch that lingered just long enough to feel deliberate. I froze, my fingers tightening around the edge of the conference table. The polish would cool against my clammy palms. His eyes, sharp and unreadable, flicked toward me, a ghost of a smile tugging at his lips before he turned back to the quarterly reports. My stomach churned, a mix of dread and disbelief. Had that been an accident? I wanted to believe it was, to chalk it up to a clumsy moment, but the weight of his gaze earlier, the way it had lingered on my blouse, whispered otherwise. I shifted in my chair, smoothing my skirt, my mind racing to rationalize. He was my boss, a man whose charm had always teetered on the edge of too much. Compliments on my work that felt too personal, late-night emails about projects that could have waited until morning. But he was married. So was I. The gold band on my finger glinted under the harsh office light. A quiet reminder of David, waiting at home with his warm laugh and steady hands. I swallowed hard, shoving the unease down, telling myself I was imagining things, overreacting. The meeting dragged on, numbers and charts blurring into a haze as I replayed that touch, that smile, over and over. By the time I left the office, the city was cloaked in dusk, streetlights flickering to life like hesitant stars. My heels clicked against the pavement, each step a metronome to my spiraling thoughts. I wanted to call David, to hear his voice anchor me, but my phone stayed heavy in my purse. What would I say? That my boss's hand grazed my leg, and I wasn't sure if it meant anything? It sounded ridiculous, petty even, when I framed it like that. But the knot in my chest wouldn't loosen, and the memory of Callahan's fingers, warm, deliberate, clung to me like damp cloth. At home, David was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of pasta, the air rich with garlic and basil. He grinned when he saw me, his eyes crinkling in that way that still made my heart skip after 7 years. "Rough day, Em?" he asked, his voice light but searching, like he could sense the storm brewing inside me. I forced a smile, nodding, and busied myself setting the table, the clink of plates a distraction from the truth I wasn't ready to voice. Dinner passed in a blur of small talk. His day at the architectural firm, a client's impossible demands, the dog chewing up his favorite socks. I laughed at the right moments, but my mind was elsewhere, dissecting every interaction with Callahan, every lingering glance I'd brushed off as harmless. That night, I lay awake beside David, his steady breathing a contrast to the chaos in my head. The bedroom was too quiet, the shadows on the ceiling too sharp. I kept replaying the moment in the conference room, wondering if I'd misread it, if my own paranoia was twisting an innocent gesture into something sinister. But there was that email from Callahan last week, sent at 11:43 p.m., asking me to stay late for a special project. I'd ignored the odd timing, told myself it was just work. Now doubt not at me. Each memory a thread unraveling the trust I'd built in my professional world. The next morning, Callahan called me into his office. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing us in a space that felt too small, too intimate. Papers were strewn across his desk, but his attention was on me, his eyes tracing my movements as I sat down. "Emma, you've been doing exceptional work," he said, his voice smooth, almost syrupy. "I've been thinking about you for that promotion." My heart lifted for a moment. Recognition, finally, before his next words landed like a stone. Of course, it'd mean working closely together. Very closely. His smile was too wide, his tone too suggestive, and the air seemed to thicken, pressing against my chest. I mumbled a thank you, my voice barely audible, and excused myself, my legs unsteady as I walked back to my desk. The office buzzed around me. Phones ringing, keyboards clacking, but it all felt distant, like I was underwater. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop, pretending to work while my mind screamed. This wasn't imagination. This was real, a line crossed, a boundary violated. But what could I do? Report him? Risk my job, my reputation? I loved my career, had fought for every step up the ladder. And yet, the thought of staying silent, of letting this fester, made my skin crawl. That evening, I couldn't hide it anymore. David noticed the moment I walked through the door, my face pale, my hands fidgeting. "Em, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice soft but urgent, his hand reaching for mine. I pulled away, not because I didn't want his touch, but because I didn't trust myself to hold it together. The words spilled out, halting, messy, about Callahan, the touch, the emails, the promotion laced with strings I hadn't agreed to pull. David's face darkened, his jaw tightening, but he listened, his silence heavy with anger and hurt. "I'll kill him," he said finally, his voice low, dangerous. I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. "No, David, it's not that simple. I don't even know if I'm overreacting." But I wasn't, and we both knew it. The betrayal wasn't just Callahan's. It was the shattering of the safety I'd felt in my workplace, the trust I'd placed in someone who'd exploited it. David pulled me into his arms, and I let myself cry, the weight of it all crashing down. The next day, I went to work with a plan. I'd confront Callahan, set boundaries, protect myself. But as I stepped into the office, I saw David's car in the parking lot. My heart stopped. He wasn't supposed to be here. I rushed inside, my breath shallow, and found him in the hallway, his face a mask of controlled fury. Callahan was there too, his expression shifting from surprise to unease as David stepped closer. "Emma told me everything," David said, his voice steady but laced with venom. "You think you can touch my wife and get away with it?" The office went silent, heads turning, eyes wide. Callahan stammered, his charm crumbling under the weight of David's accusation. I wanted to intervene, to stop this before it spiraled, but my feet were rooted to the floor, my voice trapped. Then came the twist I hadn't seen coming. Callahan's face hardened and he sneered. "She didn't seem to mind." The words hit like a slap, twisting the narrative, painting me as complicit. My colleagues' gazes shifted to me, some curious, some judgmental. I felt exposed, my integrity questioned in a single breath. David's eyes met mine, searching, and for a fleeting moment, I saw doubt flicker in them. Not doubt in me, but in us, in the life we'd built, now tainted by this ugly moment. I stepped forward, my voice shaking but clear. "You're lying," I said to Callahan, each word a reclaiming of my truth. "I never invited this. I never wanted it." The room held its breath, and in that moment, I realized the betrayal wasn't just Callahan's violation or the office's whispers. It was the way doubt could creep into even the strongest love, testing it, threatening to break it. David reached for my hand, his grip firm, grounding. We'd face this together, but the scars would linger, a reminder that trust, once fractured, is never quite the same.